It's me. I am going out to Necropolis later, which is obviously a goth thing. And I'm wearing this really cool thing I wanted to show you before I get into the Q&A. So this will probably be next weekend, not tonight when I get back because it's cold. I can't like say the whole thing. But anyway, I'm very excited that I talked my significant other into going to an event that starts at 11, even though I know that my brain will be about 10% functional tomorrow. I think I already have a migraine coming on, so it's like, all right, I'm not like ruining what would have been a good Sunday. There's no way tomorrow is going to be a good Sunday. So anyway, ta-ta. Greetings, everyone. So I am adding on, at least I'm trying to add on to the short clip that was supposed to be the intro to the video I made yesterday, which was not the Q&A, but rather the imperfections tag. So today I'm going to do the Q&A. I actually did get some sleep last night after a late night Saturday. But yeah, so let me see if I can tackle some of these questions. I had a few following my goth tag video, so a lot of them are kind of related to gothing. So it's mainly that and writing, but those are two very good topics. So I will begin with a question from Morte Fairy. She gave me a handful of really good ones. So she asked, I'm actually going to combine this with somebody else's question. What are your favorite vampire novels and films, and which influenced you the most? She said she watched Interview with a Vampire when she was little, and she's never been the same since. Well, I watched it when I wasn't little because because I'm really that old. So my favorite vampire movie is Bram Stoker's Dracula, which came out, was it 92? It was around the same time, at least I kind of, the way I conceptualize my growing up and my history, places like 92 to 95 kind of in the same bracket, maybe 93 to 95. And to me that's a very happy, warm period in my life, and I was really into not only Bram Stoker's Dracula and the costuming, and Mina was I wanted to look just like her. The Age of Innocence came out maybe a year or two before that. Anyway, to me it's the same, the early mid 90s, and I just love that style of dress. So yes, those are my two favorite movies of all time. I own them, I rewatch them, at least once or twice a year, which is kind of ridiculous, but and strange that Winona Ryder's in both. But I just thought that it was a great, very lush, dramatic, colorful telling of the tale. And despite Keanu Reeves being in it, I like him as a person. I read that he's a very generous, thoughtful man, but his acting skills have never really impressed me. I assume that he won't be watching this video and can't get his feelings hurt because I said that, but nobody care. But yeah, so Bram Stoker's Dracula. I too was a huge fan of Interview with a Vampire. I like to watch that one in October before going to the New Orleans Vampire Ball, which has become a tradition for me, the Endless Night Vampire Ball, which it happens in multiple cities and it happens in Europe too, but I haven't been to Europe for any of their balls just yet. One day I will go. As far as books are concerned, and there are other vampire movies. There's a really funny one I watched recently. It came out in the past year. It was about these vampires who live together in an apartment, and God, I can't think of the name of it. I'll look it up and put it in the comments below. Um, as far as books are concerned, I actually I'm not a huge fan of Anne Rice. Her writing style, I like literary fiction and nonfiction, and I'm a poet, so my I'm really critical of everyone else's writing style, but diffuse, extraneous words and sentences are just I don't want to deal with that. I feel like it's bad writing. If the reader is caught in a lull where there's no reason why the same descriptions are cast over and over again. Um, if I feel like I'm just reading a narrative that doesn't call into question, um, or doesn't disturb my understanding of what a character is, or or doesn't give me any insights into how I think about my personhood or anything like that. I just feel like it might as well just be a movie. So just write a screenplay. Let's just go right to the cinema with your visuals. So yeah, maybe it's not fair for me to assess something that as a category, genre fiction, or just straight narrative fiction. I'm not really into. With that said, I did think, as far as the storytelling goes, that Anne Rice's The Witching Hour, which is incredibly long. It should have been like 300 pages shorter, but it was around 1,200 pages. Something like that. Anyway, great story. And I did feel it was a little slow. It sagged a little in the middle, but nevertheless, I admire her for banging out that whole thing. But anyway, so with that said, the game theater gave me a pretty general question along these lines, which was, who are some of your favorite authors and greatest influences in writing? And without going too far back into my history, I'll start with Kafka, because it was when I read A Hunger Artist, which is a short story of his, in undergrad, that I decided to change my major for about the fourth time, but I changed it. It was a dramatic change because I had been a biology major, and then I wanted to go into medicine and be a dermatologist, which would have been a great career for me, actually. The road I didn't take. But yeah, so A Hunger Artist made me say to myself, wow, this is brilliant. I would so enjoy delving into this more, and then I can still go to law school. I loved debating, and I actually did go to law school briefly, but decided it wasn't for me because it's sort of off topic. It's very off topic, actually. Literature majors and philosophy majors, I was a philosophy minor, or supposedly make great attorneys. Those of us who take a creative writing direction think differently. So I do not enjoy writing scholarly papers about books that I read. It's just not something that I enjoy doing. I know other people do. The literature majors, I enjoy writing my own things, or I used to when I had ample time to do so. But yeah, so as a creative writer, my passion involves giving birth to my own little worlds, and it's difficult to do that when you are trying to carry around a stack of case law in your brain and you're running out of, you know, random access memory, it's like the whole, everything that you've crammed into your brain is just going to topple over. And there's just no room to be creative. I'm having trouble talking today. Sorry, my throat's a little raspy too. So yes, so I left law school and then I moved to Orlando and I worked at a publishing house, and then I went back to law school for reasons that had nothing to do with anything I'm talking about in this video, and decided once and for all after that no, no, and then I went to grad school. But yeah, so going back to the authors, after, no, while I was, no, I was still an undergrad. I took a graduate course in Beckett's novels, and I had always loved Beckett. I loved his plays. I didn't even know at that point that he wrote novels or was, you know, quite gifted at doing so. Anyway, and while they were all fantastic, Watt remains one of my favorite books of all time. It's just, I hate to use the word experimental, but it does do it. He took a lot of liberties with that and seemed to have fun writing it, and it just it's like if you like absurdist fiction, you definitely like Watt. I think it's really funny, and it's the sort of thing that if you have writer's block and you're writing something sort of whimsical and you're just stuck, you can read it and it just makes you feel like, okay, it's whatever I'm gonna write is okay. It's great. And then moving on to grad school, I got really into Lynn Haginian. My life changed my life. I hadn't really written prose poetry until I read this. So there's that. At some point after I moved to New York, I became a huge fan of Jenny Booley. This is the book of beginnings and endings. Can you see that? It has like an egg on the front. I know she had a child, and ever since that occurred, I don't think she's written anything else. Or if she has, it was like right after she had the child. Anyway, I think she's more into raising her kid than writing at this point. And there were some allusions to sort of when I read her stuff in the like mid '00s, I remember thinking, this woman wants to have a baby. There were hints, not so subtle hints, but yeah, we were quite different in that regard. But I felt like her writing style was so similar to my own that it really helped me see what I could do. And again, the book of beginnings and endings, like Watt, when I was writing fiction, helped oil the gears. This one is just amazing. I've underlined so much and dog-eared so many pages. I also really liked, this isn't it, the body and essay is okay, but One Love Affair is really good. And of the Mismatched Teacups, of the Single Serving Spoon, A Book of Failures is pretty good. Yeah. And okay, and what else? There is a poet whose name I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce right. Angie Mlinko, Mlinko. She's incredible. Annie Dillard, who wrote The Writing Life. Actually, The Writing Life is the only book of hers that I really enjoyed. Pilgrim at Tinker Creek kind of, I don't know. It wasn't it didn't have a lot of movement. So I'll pick it up and try to, each time I try to read it, I go a little bit further, but still haven't finished that one. But anyway, so I was in a writing workshop with Bob Shakochis, a nonfiction workshop at Florida State, and he said that I reminded him of her. He taught her as well. So I guess that's flattering, right? If I'm simply linking my writing to the writing life and not the other book that I don't like so much. What else? I guess those are my absolute favorites. I might come back to this topic later. Okay, so what else? Here is another from Morte Fairy. Do you ever find the goth label to be restrictive in any way in terms of following goth rules or stereotypes? Some have told me that they avoid the term because they feel creatively boxed in by it. Yes, actually. I think the goth subculture is based on a network of cliches, and without being derogatory, I don't want to insult anyone. I think it's okay that it's based on cliches, but I don't think that a person should become a cliche. So it's very irritating to me when I fell into the goth scene mostly because I like the music. I actually don't enjoy putting a bunch of makeup on my face, as you can see. I hate it. I'm lazy with that. I don't feel like it drastically improves my appearance, and so therefore I can get away with not doing it. In fact, I think I look better without a bunch of makeup on my face. So, subculture be damned. I love it on other people, but I don't know. It's like black lipstick makes my lips look thin. If anything that's like too outliney makes me look old. So screw it. And I'm not wearing white Halloween type makeup on my face. I'm just not. I hate wearing any kind of. I don't wear foundation at all. I think it clogs the pores. If you see people in makeup videos, it's like they're so gorgeous, and then when they do a get ready with me video or whatever it is, the power of makeup, you see all of these blemishes and scars, and I think that's because they're wearing so much foundation all the time and their pores can't breathe. I could be wrong about that, but that's just an idea that I have. I mean, if I so much as touch my face, I'm probably going to get a zit, so I don't do that. No one else touches my face by any means, for any reason. Even if I have an itch, I'll kind of brush my skin, my clothing against my face. No fingertips, no germs on my face, no. But yeah, again, I'm going off topic. What else? Oh, so yeah. So I got into the goth scene because of music primarily, and I love the clothing, the more Victorian goth clothing. But I really resent the insistence that you're not a night owl. Oh, what? Why are you leaving the party or the dance night before 1 o'clock? That's peculiar. Well, it wouldn't be if things would start at a decent hour, like 9 or 10, but around here, 11 o'clock, 10:30, 11 is more standard. I hate it. I am not able to sleep in the morning because of street noises, because my circadian rhythms don't permit me to do that, because if you have a normal day job, your whole system is trained like a dog to wake up at the same time every day, and it's healthier. And your HGH, most of it is processed before midnight. So if you're not getting that, that's why some of these people just look terrible. And I don't want to look like I'm 50 when I'm 39. So I prefer to get a good night's sleep when possible. And I'm not going to... I'm not submitting to pressure to stay out later than I'm comfortable with doing. So take that. And what else is bothersome about the stereotypes? Hmm. That's probably about it. But in general, I guess with any subculture, there are going to be those who lord over other members of it who maybe aren't as extreme. The fact that they're not as whatever it happens to be. I'm not familiar with other subcultures really. But yeah, I mean, like your hair's not big enough, or your, I don't think anybody's ever going to question my knowledge of music, so, take that. Or my wardrobe, really. I would certainly hate for someone to judge me based on my lack of piercings. But while I find it intriguing on others, I have also heard grievous tales about piercings gone awry. I don't want to have an infected mouth. I don't want to knock out a tooth because, a lip ring, which I think is really cool looking. I'm just, my teeth are fragile, not taking that chance. I have sinus issues, and I have to rinse my nose a lot, so I'm not doing any kind of nose piercing, especially when I can get a clip-on. I think that eyebrow piercings are very cool, but again, if it got infected, it's so close to my eye. And I've heard that, like, the Daith, is that how you say it? Daith piercing? Anyway, the one that they do for people who have migraines, like, I looked into this actually because I was considering doing it to reduce my migraines. Like way down there in that center cartilage that's deep in your ear, those take at least 6 months to heal. So I don't know, and I would be afraid I wouldn't be able to put an earplug in my ear. Of course I wouldn't be able to until it healed, and if I can't put a Max Wax earplug in my ear, I'm not going to be able to sleep at all, because even with those things in, I hear the motorcycles outside and my radiator and blah blah blah. Okay, so I think that's enough of that one. What else here? Morte Ferry gave me a slew of great questions. Thank you so much, if she's watching. Thank you. Do you ever have lucid dreams or very vivid dreams or nightmares, and do they help your creativity? Hell yes. I can't say for sure that they help my creativity, but my dreams are so vivid, and if I get into, like, late in the morning, well, late for me, which is anything past, like, 6:30. So into the 7th or 8th hour of sleep, I am deep into my dreams, and some of them are so beautiful. It's like I actually revisit some of the same magical places which don't exist in real life. They are absolutely of my own rendering, at least my subconscious's own rendering. Like these lush rose gardens, places where it's perpetually summer, and I'll see people I used to know. It's like we're in our 20s again, and nothing tragic has occurred yet, and they'll tell me how they feel about me, and It's like there's no ill. Of course, I'm referring to people who are no longer really a part of my life, but um, everything is as it was in the beginning, and I can. Um, I feel like I access emotions in those dreams that I never experience in real life. At least not anymore. Maybe I did when I was in my late teens, mid late teens. But then things just become kind of trite. And you begin to, I guess, draw, not consciously, but you kind of figure out, okay, this is how it really is, and at least for myself, it's like the range of possibility with other people is not this, it's this, and so I'm not going to expect any more than this, and it's the horrible thing about getting older, growing up, at least for me. But I feel like if I did something drastically different from my typical, like going to a foreign country, which I've never done before, going on an adventure, I might be able to rekindle some of that. So, but again, I'm digressing. Lucid dreams, yes. At times they are lucid. I'll in these moments when I'm spending time with people from my past who I might miss, there'll just be a moment, a recognition that, hey, this actually isn't real, and then I feel bold enough to say things that I might not have said. Doesn't happen too often, and then there are those dreams that I just realize, oh, I'm just gonna have fun with this. I'm not accountable for anything that I do, so we're gonna do this thing that's probably illegal, um, but wildly pleasurable. Okay, so also, let's see, I have some good questions from Beauty Lit PhD. She asked, how has the culture of New York City changed your perception of life in general? It might be hard for me to distinguish just growing older and wiser with having moved to New York City and encountered a different culture altogether, because I've been here now for 12 and a half years. Yeah, 12 and a half, 12 and a half years. I would say I became much more liberal growing up in Florida and having relatives who were all Southern, most of them religious, and really not being exposed to other viewpoints except for through a couple of people who I met in high school, and then at Florida State, our writing professors, literature professors, philosophy, whatever, they're all of the liberal persuasion to varying degrees, and most of my peers there were as well. However, as someone who, in my youth, I would feel very resentful when someone would demand a position, like for me to take a position, say in a class where we had to give a speech or write a paper, state your opinion and defend it on this hot button topic. And I wouldn't have a bold opinion about it just yet. I was young. I didn't like to assert a viewpoint without thinking about it and discussing it exhaustively. Obviously, if people are on such opposite ends of the spectrum, there has to be something to both sides, correct? So I kind of, occasionally I would have a very strong perspective on something, but I like to hear both sides, and it was actually quite confusing to me in the 11th grade. That's when I first realized that people have really strong ideas about abortion, and I didn't know why are it was like, why are these the set topics that people have such strong views on? That confused me. I had lots of other concerns that had nothing to do with politics. Um, I was more concerned about, how I was going to appear to be a cohesive self to those who were just meeting me for the first time. It was like I was all over the place, like a, I don't know. I never really felt like a unified self. I felt like I was the person who each individual who knew me well already thought of me as, and that was like a comfort. So I had my three best friends, and I kind of felt what they thought of me. It was like they were holding me together in the theater of my actions that existed in their heads, and if they weren't there, I didn't know who I was. So um, I'm like, maybe I was an undiagnosed something or other. I don't know if I had a psychological problem or not, but I don't think so. I think I was just very sensitive and thoughtful and shy. But anyway, so when getting back to Florida State and having these very liberal professors and peers, I couldn't stand it when I would question, not ridicule, not slander. I would just, open up for discussion or try to these viewpoints that I wasn't really familiar with. And people would get so mad. They didn't want to explain where they're coming from. They didn't want to talk anything through. They just wanted to ram their opinion of the other side, which was I even on the other side? I was just, trying to invite discussion. There was like no room for discussion. So that turned me against anyone who was self-identified as liberal and really self-righteous about it. Not everyone was, but it was just a red flag. I mean, any extremist is going to send the red flag flying. But so that was Florida State. I could go into a story that I'm not going to go into it. And then there was just this one real bully on our listserv. We didn't have, it was back in the days of the listserv, which was basically like an email chain or messaging chain, something like that. I'm not going to go there. So once I moved here, I remember I was an independent, but someone had commented on Facebook. I guess I said something about universal health care, and I didn't think that I was just adopting or echoing what my parents and other family members have always said, oh, we can't afford it. Ugh. And someone who I really respect, who I think is brilliant and really talented, just said, I'm going to have to disagree with you, Stacy. That was it. And then I was like, wait a second. So this guy and like 30 other people who are the smartest people I know are all going to disagree with that. And they're going to disagree with pretty much everything that has ever been thrust upon me by people I grew up with. I'm not talking about college now. And then I was like, you know what? Do I even believe what I'm saying here? How much thought have I given this? What do I really know? Am I an economist? No. So yeah, I think that's how New York City culture has changed me, though I guess it's not really New York City culture, it's just being around different people. People who have to all get along in a very cramped environment, people from all walks of life, people with, ancestors who were immigrants, and they've come over here and they've made lives for themselves. Um, so yeah, and I'm sure there are other ways that I'm just blind to or not thinking of at the moment, but that's the one that sticks out the most. Good question. Um, oh dear, this is getting long. Maybe I'll just stop there. Uh, I'm sure there are lots of, after I rewatch this, I'm going to think, God, why, oh, I sound like an idiot. Why didn't I expatiate on that more? Or I totally forgot this story that would have been quite illustrative. And oh, there were these 20 other authors I should have mentioned. Um, but I also don't want this to go on for an hour. So, bless my failing memory, or it's not even a failing memory. Whenever I put myself on the spot to make a video, even though this isn't a live audience, I feel I just get a little stage fright. It's like I can't think. Who am I? Ooh, I don't know. So yeah, so that's it. I'm going to say goodbye for now, and it'll probably be another week before I do one of these, maybe longer. Cause yeah, a lot of stuff coming up, fun stuff on the weekends. So yes, bye bye.